You can't drive a train without an engineer. So I think it's about time I fitted some to some of my newer locomotives. Hello everybody, my name's Steve, I'm the British Railroader and welcome to my model railroad room for a little video about how I fitted a couple of figures to my Long Island Railroad MP15s. Now these are Athearn Genesis, they are beautifully detailed. They've got a full cab interior, and the thing is with MP15s, they've got quite wide open cabs with lots of windows. So not having a driver in them does look a little bit odd at times. So I decided that I would just talk you through how I fitted the driver, but also just talk you through how I paint my figures. Now, I don't get my love of railways from, I think, anybody in my family. My dad isn't into model railways at all, but my dad is a modeller. More specifically, he's a military modeller and he paints model figures. And I've kind of picked up quite a few tips from him over the years. So I thought I would just talk you through my process of painting the figures, just very simply using photographs. And then I would just talk you through how I fitted these locos with the figures, because it's quite difficult to get into them. So let's go, and I hope you find this useful.
So let's start with the MP15ACs. Now this is a pair of Athearn Genesis models in Long Island Railroad livery. This is the colour scheme that these two locos just happen to be in right now. These are DCC sound fitted. All I've done to them is my usual adjustment with the couplers, and I've added keeper lives. Now, I've had a few comments about these locos. I've not really introduced them to Brooklyn Park in any of my videos, but I managed to get them secondhand about a month before Christmas, and basically paid next to nothing for them compared to them new. They're great looking locos, but they certainly need some work doing to them. Everybody who's noticed them has said that they're far too clean for Long Island Railroad locos, and they certainly need a heavy dose of weathering. But what I wanted to do was, before I did that, I wanted to get some crew into the cabs, because they are quite, as I said, quite open cabs, lots of windows, and it would look odd if there were no drivers in them. Now, I wanted to get some really nice figures for these locomotives, and I've looked around and I couldn't find anything at first, but I went on to Model U's website. I've spoken of Model U before. They're a British based 3D printing company that produce figures for model railways. They do an HO scale American range, but one of the great things is that all of their figures can be printed in whatever scale you like. So I was having a little look through and I found these two. These are diesel drivers, one in a relaxed pose, as you can see. And they were listed in the website as part of the 00 range. But as with all of their figures, you can actually just order them in whatever scale you like. So as you can see, they come in this kind of plain grey, and they've got the sprues attached, though I managed to knock my relax driver off. So I gather together all of my paints, and what I do is I block in one bit at the time. So I start with the flesh. I decided that I wanted some different coloration in my driver. So one has got quite pale flesh, the other one has got a darker shade, possibly going towards sort of like a Hispanic, maybe Afro-Caribbean kind of look, bearing in mind that I want this to reflect the diversity of Long Island. I then paint in the shirts and the undershirts, and then the shoes, followed by the trousers, or pants, as they say in America. I've gone for jeans. They're actually two different shades of blue, so that they're not exactly the same. Now, why I've gone to this level of detail, I don't know, because at the end of the day, these figures, you're barely going to see them, but I think it's just my little inner modeler that makes me want to do it properly. I then added the high-vis jackets. On the Long Island Railroad, they use orange jackets. They do actually have bright yellow striping, but I decided that my one compromise to the fact that you're not really going to see them that closely was not to put the the bright yellow stripes on them. I then, once everything had dried, gave them just a little dry brush, just with some very light grey, and that just highlights the various areas. And then my last stage is to take some black panel line accent colour from Tamiya and just give a very gentle wash. And basically this is what I end up with my figures. You've got two figures. I like to think they're quite simply painted, but they've got enough detail on them to make them look really rather interesting. My next job was working out how to get into these things. I started just by removing the handrails from the cab. Now, I was going to see if I could just unhook the top of the cab without taking the body shell off, but I realised when I looked at the instructions that that just wasn't going to be an option. So I removed the body shell, and as you can see here, there is quite a lot of wiring that goes up into the cab, but there's enough slack there that I knew that if I took the cab off, as I've done here, that I would be able to access the interior. And so you can see from the photos what a beautifully detailed interior it is. Now, to get the figure to fit, unfortunately I had to remove quite a bit of his left hand side. Had I not done so, then he wouldn't have been able to fit in once the cab roof was back on. But fits quite nicely. And then what I used was some Yoo-Hoo plastic glue. Now, the reason I use this as opposed to super glue is that whilst it dries slower than super glue, it dries quite fast, but also there is no chance of getting that white haziness onto the windows. So it was a matter of putting some glue onto the seat, getting the figure in place, and sort of getting him settled in. Did the same with the other figure. Again, I had to lose a big portion of his left hand side, which unfortunately meant that his lazy leg, which was propped up, had to go. But you wouldn't have seen it anyway. But it just made me feel better that it's gone. I then put the locos back together. And then, as you can see here from these shots with the camera, you actually can't see that much. You can see that there's a figure in there. You can see that they've got a high-vis on, and really that's about it. Yes, it's a little bit of a fiddly process, but do you know what? I think it's worth the effort, because it's such a nice loco with such a nice interior, and I think that adding the figures the way that I've done again improves the look of the engine.
Okay, that's it for this video. Thank you for watching. If you've enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you've enjoyed it, then please consider subscribing if you haven't done so already. And when you subscribe, a little bell will come up. Press it, click all, and you will be notified of all my videos as they come out. If you have any comments or questions, you can either post them below or you can email me direct at this email address that should be coming along here. But anyway, that's it from me. My name's Steve. I'm the British Railroader. And I'm saying goodbye from my model railroad room. Bye bye.